So what is up, everybody? I want to do a little lens test today, and the lens to test is the Rollei HFT 50mm 1.8 Planar. So if you're interested in this lens, stay tuned. So, thank you very much for tuning back in. We want to take a look today on the Rollei Planar 50mm 1.8. So, Rollei produced lenses with the Carl Zeiss planar design. This design is quite an old design, and it was done by Paul Rudolph from Carl Zeiss, and it dates back to 1896. So really old design, and it is a symmetrical lens design with 6 elements in 4 groups. So the planar was produced in Singapore, as the Voigtländer factories in Germany were shut down in 1975, and so they moved the production abroad, and they were the standard lenses for the SL35 and SL350 cameras from Voigtländer. So they were produced quite a lot from 1970 to 1995 and are quite widely available nowadays. So it's not really, it's quite a common lens, but a really nice and a really good lens. So it's really good value for money. So this planar is a very nice prime lens. It is a very good 50mm all-rounder, and it comes handy for portraitures as well as landscape photography, and yeah, it's just an all-round lens. And the big selling point for this lens is it's nearly the same build quality, or it's as good as the build quality of the standard Carl Zeiss lens, but for much cheaper, because it's branded Rollei and not Carl Zeiss. So it's a really good value point for this. The build quality is really outstanding, so really high quality lens. But the earlier models are more sought after because the focusing rings are made of metal too, so the haptic feeling of the older lenses is a little bit better. But the coatings from the newer ones are quite a lot better. So I have the newer one and I'm quite happy with the build quality of it. It's metal as well, just the focusing rings are made of rubber, and yeah, you really have to like that kind of focusing ring. The Canon models out of the 90s and 80s have those rings as well. I'm not that big of a fan of them, but yeah, they are what they are. One thing with this lens is the lens mount. It's the so-called QBM mount, and they are quite a hassle to adapt. In fact, there are different kinds of adapters, and you need to have the right ones, because there on the original lens there is a pin sticking out from the back which presses the aperture, and you need this pin to be pressed, so you need an adapter that presses this pin those adapters are screwed in from the back, and they are really not that cheap. They are something like 20 quid. So you have really to look into the right adapter to buy, and then you have to screw them in. But if you have that done, they are really, really good. I use the QBM to EOS adapter because I like to use the EOS mount, because I firstly bought a Canon camera and then switched to my Sony, and I have a lot of adapters for EOS to Sony, even ones with helicoids in them, so you get a little bit more of a near focusing distance. But that's a topic for another video. So let's talk about the haptic and build quality of this lens. It is really a pleasing thing to use. The focus works great. It's in nice shape or form. There is no fungus in it. It's built like a tank. There is no play in the focus. It turns quite smoothly. From the turning point, it's more on the stiff side, but not really too stiff. So it's quite a good feedback from it. What I don't like is the clickiness of the aperture. They click quite stiff, and you have to. You don't have to force it, but it's more on the hefty side of things to turn, and that's not that satisfying. But it's okay. The near focusing distance is 0.45 meters, which is quite okay. It's not great, but it's okay for a 50mm. You can really work with this lens, and if you need to get it closer, you use the helicoid adapter. So I'm quite happy with the build quality. It is up to the Carl Zeiss Planar. I've used this lens as well, and they are really quite similar in this case. So you can buy a Carl Zeiss lens for maybe a third of the original Carl Zeiss lens, which makes it quite a bargain. So it's really, it's good weight, good quality, and nice optics for quite a good price. So awesome lens. So I have taken a few test pictures, and they are not really good. They're just to show the quality of this lens. So let's have a look at what we can see. I am in the camera raw converter from Adobe Photoshop, so I haven't done any processing, so you can see what the pictures look like straight out of camera. The first 3 pictures are of a test wall, which it's just a test picture I printed and I photographed. The first is taken at f1.8, the second is at f2.8, and the third one is at f8. And the first thing that I notice right here, if we compare the f1.8 to the f8, is that we have a huge vignette in the f1.8. Have a look right here to right here. So here everything is brightly illuminated, and here we have quite a strong vignette. So yes, this lens is vignetting quite a bit. The second thing I notice is, have a look at the number 4 right here, and right here, right here, and right here. just from the perspective right here, I can see that they are not as sharp. So to confirm this, let's go into 100%. Right in the center, we see here a bit of chromatic aberration, but the sharpness is quite good. That's really reasonable. But if we are going right here in this direction, we can see a huge drop off in picture quality, and this is really not that good. Let's compare this to the other side. Maybe I wasn't plain with my photography. Maybe the other side looks, yeah, it looks a bit better, but still we have a drop, a picture quality fall off. So yeah, you can see it right here. The sharpness isn't there, and there's a lot of purple fringing. Let's go into the f8 and take a look right here. Sharpness is great. Bit of chromatic aberration right here. And now let's have a look up here. And we see perfect picture sharpness from corner to corner. Yeah. Let's compare this to the 2.8 right now, where we can see a huge improvement of chromatic aberration right here. So f1.8 looks a lot worse. It's a bit sharper as well, and the corners look a lot better than 1.8. But still, the f1.8 in my opinion is quite usable. So yeah, it's not an awesome test result, but it's really workable from f1.8. I have seen a lot worse, so yeah. So now let's have a look at the close focus in distance and the picture quality right here. So this was taken at f1.8, and this point right here is the center, and this is the sharpest point in picture. And now we can see the real world test, and you can see the details at f1.8 is really great. So as horrible as my first impressions were at the test chart, the real world results are quite good. And the contrasts as well are really great. Have a look at the contrast levels here around. It's a crisp image, really good, and the bokeh is quite nice as well. There are no harsh lines in the bokeh. You can see the foreground bokeh, it melts away, and this is really a specialty of this lens. The bokeh is amazingly good. Let's have a look at the same picture with f2.8. You can see we have a bit more sharpness in the center. Let's compare that again from here to here. There is an improvement in sharpness, but it's workable at f1.8. And the bokeh is nice as well. So it performs quite good in the close focusing distance. f8, we have amazing sharpness, really great details, and the foreground and background bokeh are lovely. So now let's have a look at a 3D print I did. Let's have a look at this picture. So I wanted to see how the foreground and the background bokeh renders to itself. So those are two 3D prints, and they are at the open. They are at f1.8, so you can see here the details of the structure really good. So this is not at the close focusing distance, this is approximately 1.5 meters away. So the close focusing distance is not as sharp as the it gets sharp. The lens gets sharper the more you go away. So this is quite good. Really like the sharpness. Really like the bokeh. Have a look at that. There's another thing you have to watch out are those parts where you have highlights in your picture, and they really render great. There are no harsh structures right here. It melts away quite nicely in the background, so really nice here as well on this points. Have a look at that. There are a few little bubbles in the highlights. You can see them right here. I really love them. They look great in this picture. So last picture is the opposite. I focused on Mr. Yoda. Have a look at the details right here. I focused at the eye, so you see right here. You can see every line of the 3D print. You can see how nicely the bokeh melts away right here. This is foreground bokeh. This is background bokeh. Really awesome. And Mr. Darth Vader is completely melted away. And the bokeh here in the background is really, really great. So let's sum this lens up. There are a few problems with it. The minimum focusing distance could be better, and it's not that easy to find the proper adapter. And the build quality of the later models like mine is a bit on the plasticky side with the rubber focusing rings, and it shows a bit of color fringing, but it has a lot of pros as well, and the pros are the build quality is quite good and on the better side for 50mm. It's a really light and compact prime lens. It's really sharp. The contrast is excellent. The colors are amazing. The bokeh is quality as well. And the value for this lens is really, really good, because there are a lot of them. So thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.